with a lot of
A
people.
freighter went down or something.
Something like that, and all those people want to be in the water for months at a time, and eventually their stuff will be washed. Parts of their body will be washed ashore. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities.
There was a theory that there was a crash of a small airplane that happened kind of outside of Vancouver in the Pacific Ocean. They said, well, maybe this is the bodies. There's like 4 men who died in this thing. Maybe these were the feet that belong to those men. But, again, it seems like that's the sort of thing that you could kind of test for.
Well,
maybe. Because they would have been families that were actively pursuing that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible if you look at the currents, it's possible for a boat to go down. Somebody could fall overboard from a sailboat somewhere off the coast of California. Somebody who's wearing at least one stylish Nike running shoe on his feet, and eventually wind up on the shores of British Columbia. I mean, it could happen. It could happen all over the Pacific.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible.
What this tells me most of all, though, is that say if it was a tsunami or if it was just random chance, like shipwrecks and things like that, there must be a hell of a lot of floating feet in the Pacific. Yeah, I mean,
right?
Because the thing about it is like mostly the currents are going to continue to carry your foot around and around and around for a while. It's not going to wash on shore. It's probably more often than not it's going to bypass British Columbia and the coast and whatever and just drift on by.
Right.
So there's a lot of feet out there.
Well, and that's, I think, again, why the tsunami makes so much sense to me is because there's a lot of bodies. Massive amount of bodies. So for the, 12 or whatever shoot.
Exactly, a tiny percentage.
That's like a tiny little percentage.
Tiny percentage, yes.
An explanation other than that doesn't make as much sense to me, but, I don't totally discredit Steve's theory either.
And I can see validity in it. It's just I have a hard time seeing a foot in a shoe drift that far and still be intact. But that's just me.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But as far as bridge suicides, I don't know. Usually somebody witnesses it, and they fish the body out, and cart it away.
Not always.
But not always.
But not always. That's
not always.
And that's the other reason I don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I do.
Wow, that was a short list.
I know.
I blame Richard III.
He's totally guilty.
You're right, it was him.
Yeah.
So I guess if you have theories of your own to add to our list.
Or if you're missing a foot and you think one of these might be your foot.
Yeah, if you can identify it.
Yeah.
You could send us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. You are probably listening to us on iTunes. If you are, if you would take the time to give us a comment and a rating, or just one or the other, that's super helpful. It helps other people kind of find us.
Yeah, ratings are how shows go up the list, and that's how people find them.
Yep, which,
that's what we're looking for.
Since you like us, you probably think other people should like us, so, do it. You can also listen to us on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. There you can also leave us a comment if you would like. That's a great way to get in contact with us. Lots of people have been doing that.
Absolutely.
It's really great. We love it.
Give us show ideas or,
and theories and feedback.
It's
great. Been fantastic.
Yeah, so definitely we try to get back to as many of those as we can.
Yeah, and I do want to say, for anybody that put a comment up and we didn't reply to it, it's not because we didn't want to reply, but sometimes there's just so many that we're trying to get a hold of that things fall through the crack.
Yeah.
I've been trying to go back through the log of them to find some, but it's just difficult.
That's why we need to hire an intern or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Also, find us on Facebook. We're there. Give us a like. I don't know. It might be fun.
Yeah.
I don't really monitor. Do you do Facebook?
Yeah.
I
do.
So I guess there's stuff going up on Facebook.
I put stuff up on Facebook.
I haven't looked at our Facebook. I'm in charge of our other social media.
I guess, I come to think of it, I haven't looked at Facebook for a while either. I guess I should.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the other stuff.
Yes.
If you forget to download us for whatever reason, if you just want to stream us, Stitcher is a great way to do that. We are on there. You just search us, Thinking Sideways Podcast. Super easy. Stream us right from your phone or your iPad or
any mobile device.
Any mobile device, really. I'm partial to the Apple devices, but I understand not everybody is, so it's fine. Anyways, thanks for listening to this, what turned out to be super short show.
But very punny.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Come on!
Thanks for
After all
tolerating
of
that.
this, you give me those looks for making that joke?
You're right.
I should have stopped with the first one.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
like this was like, thanks for tolerating us.
Yeah. So yeah. So long, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Ha ha! The shoe's on the other foot now, isn't it?
This from the guy who always puts his foot in his mouth.
You guys, we have to stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This thing was just gaining traction.
Oh.
How about like, you know, don't criticize a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes? or until you floated a mile in his shoes, I guess?
To you by Hugging It Out. Instead, it's brought to you by Hugging It In. No, Hugging It Out with something furry or fuzzy or cute or, you know, feathered or scaled or gross. That's right, brought to you by your local animal shelter. Do you want to get a furry, feathered, or scaly friend? Then go to your local shelter before the pet store. There's so many four-legged or two-legged friends out there, actually some three-legged too, just waiting to find a good home. Do you already have your furry forever friend, but you want to help out anyway? You can donate your time or your money to your local animal shelter instead. So get out and get huggin'.
Thinking sideways. Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am your host, Joe, joined as always by
Devin,
and
Steve,
who's not paying attention.
that's Steve.
I'm reading about the Predators.
Steve
Yeah.
is out in the internet right now, reading up about Jesse Ventura. We'll talk about Jesse in a minute.
My new hero.
Yeah, I know. He's an action
love
hero.
this guy.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome. So, anyway, we're going to talk about another cool mystery. We're going to talk about the strange goings-on at a super-secret government facility that's on an island off the east coast of the United States. I bet you didn't know there was something like that, did you? Well, there is. Have you heard of the Montauk Monster?
No.
You haven't? Well, some people
yeah,
have.
of course I have.
Yeah.
We're doing an episode on it.
He's the best actor ever.
Yeah.
The look on his face is like, what, you haven't?
Yeah. What? And also, have you heard of Lyme disease?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, there are some other Montauk monsters out there, similar kinds of things that are washed up nearby. And I've seen the pictures of them. And Lyme disease was first identified in 1975 in Old Lyme, Connecticut. Well, the town of Old Lyme is 11 miles northwest of a place called Plum Island, which is a tiny island in the mouth of Long Island Sound, which puts it basically between Long Island, New York, and the coast of Connecticut. And it's about 18 miles northwest of Montauk Point, the tip of Long Island, which is where the Montauk Monster was found on the beach. Yeah. And you guys have seen pictures of the Montauk Monster, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty weird looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will agree. It is not in a good state.
Yeah, no. So people have drawn a connection. I mean, it's that close to Montauk Point, and there's this weird island over there where the government's doing all kinds of stuff that they won't talk about. And it doesn't help that Plum Island is surrounded by guys in boats with guns. Like, you know, we're talking Homeland Security guys. They won't let you near the island. You are not allowed to land on the island. And actually, the island was indeed a biological warfare research center for a little bit, and that's really true. That's not I'm not just making that up. But that, and officially at least, that mission was ended in 1969. Unofficially, well, who knows what's going on there? Some people suspect that maybe it still continues, or something even more nefarious. Some people suspect that, of course, Lyme disease might have originated there, and maybe some other things too, like the West Nile virus might have originated on that island. It also doesn't help that a few other strange things have been found nearby, like a human body that was found on the beach, or a body that seemed to be mostly human but was kind of different. That was 2010 when it was found. And somebody recently dredged up some photos of another creature that was found in 1959 on the beach of the island. Have you seen those photos, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like a human being.
Nope.
I think you have to agree. Maybe a human-dog hybrid? So, all this prompts a lot of questions. What the hell is going on Plum Island? Well, okay. First, I'm going to give you a little background about the island. Yeah, I know. It's totally sweet. So you all know where Long Island, New York is. If you don't, well, get into Google or something and go take a look at it.
And this is Plum Island, Plum.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Plum Island.
Yeah,
as
like
in
Plum
Bob.
Yeah, no. That's just plum like the fruit. Yeah, so Long Island is a long, skinny thing that's parallel to the coast of Connecticut, and Long Island Sound is in between Connecticut and the island. And then in the mouth of it on the east end, you can find it on Google. Just type in Plum Island in maps, and it'll take you right there. And it'll show you aerials and everything, although I'm sure they've been dummied up by the government. But you can see there's a bunch of buildings, there's some roads and stuff like that on the island. It's 840 acres, which it's about, like 1.3 square miles, something like that.
Somewhere in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's been owned by the Feds since 1898, when it was bought for construction of Fort Terry, which at the time was thought necessary to protect Long Island Sound from enemy ships. That we were at war with Spain at the time. You all remember the Spanish-American War?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, like it was yesterday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so after I think World War II, Fort Terry was finally shuttered, and then the Army Chemical Corps took over the island, and I guess they were going to pursue research into biological warfare, but then they turned around and decided to give the island to the USDA, that's the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Well, they had plans and they started to build, but it almost looks like it was really underfunded because they began construction, but then when the USDA took over, they had to take over these buildings and use them as is, and I think expand on them or complete some, because it wasn't as if the facility was all there and ready from when the World War II group was in there.
No, I mean, but Fort Terry was, there were some fortifications, and probably all the rest of it was just wooden buildings for things like barracks, mess halls and storage rooms and stuff like that, So not exactly research laboratory stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, not really. But they've essentially done some building on there, and they got some shiny new buildings. And the USDA established the Plum Island Animal Disease Center, mostly to research foot and mouth disease. You might also have heard of that as hoof and mouth disease.
Yep.
Which is a nasty little thing that hits your cows and pigs and stuff like that, and it can be hard on agriculture. If your animals get it, you have to kill them and burn their carcasses.
Yeah, they're not the meat is non-saleable.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
that point, it doesn't kill the animal, but it's non-saleable.
Yeah, it makes them kind of useless, and so and it can be actually devastating. To the animals, because you get that, and it's like, oh, Herbie, too bad for you. But like Rinderpest and a few other weird diseases like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few things they've looked into.
Yeah, but mostly foot and mouth. They're looking for things like early detection tools and vaccines. I don't think they've ever invented a vaccine for foot and mouth disease.
I don't think so either.
I don't believe they have.
But that's certainly not going to stop them from trying. But probably at this point they're not trying anymore. But back then.
Well, yeah, we managed to eradicate it in the U.S. in 1929. But on the other hand, it might come back, so it pays to be prepared. But yeah, mainly it is foot and mouth that they do stuff there, and of course it's on the island because it's against federal law to study foot and mouth disease on the U.S. mainland because, well, like I said, we eradicated it. We don't want it back, so it's not legal. And
it's rather hard for a cow or pig that's infected to just wander away because it's stuck on an island.
Yes, exactly.
The deterrent.
Yeah, although there has been some talk about closing the island down and moving the whole research center to the middle of Kansas somewhere. And
same thing, really. Island, middle of Kansas.
Yeah, where are they going to go from Kansas?
Nowhere.
What I really love about this is that, did you look at the site where they were going to put it in Kansas?
No.
It's right on, if what I looked at is where they're really looking to do it, it's damn near on the banks of a river that pours straight into a major metropolitan area. And I'm like, oh, great. So you're researching diseases. And when you have something go wrong and it overflows, it's going to go right in the river.
But Steve, things never overflow. Things always go perfectly.
If toilets have taught me anything, that is not true.
It would be toilets too, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah, toilets do that, huh? They
are a great, it's not a metaphor, allegory? Analogy?
Allegory.
Continue on, Joe.
Okay, yeah, we'll tackle that later. And, back to our island history. Usually if you read about the history of the island, you also hear a mention of Erich Traub, who was, and you guys have heard of Erich Traub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly a Nazi. I guess he was officially a Nazi Party member, German guy. who's been called the godfather of Plum Island. And during World War II, Eric Traub worked for the German government on what's called Reims Island off the north coast of Germany in the Baltic Sea. And he was doing kind of similar stuff, biological warfare, but it was animal-oriented kind of stuff. He worked on things like foot-and-mouth disease and rinderpest, just like they do on Plum Island. But of course, part of the idea was an offensive use for these diseases, so you could weaponize it and infect your enemy's cattle and pigs and stuff with this, and like totally screw up their food supply in time of war, which is actually
super effective.
Super effective. An army marches on its stomach, right?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that in what was the potato beetle?
Yeah, exactly.
The beetles.
Yeah,
exactly. So this has been practiced time and again. I mean, thousands of years ago, it was like you invaded your enemy's territory, you burned his crops,
salted the earth.
Absolutely. So this is old stuff, but modern biological warfare kind of stuff, but old stuff. But Eric Traub was brought to the U.S. under Operation Paperclip, which you've probably heard of, where we got a bunch of German scientists and brought them over here after the war before the Russians could get their hands on them. And he was interviewed extensively about his work on Reims Island. And supposedly this was maybe the inspiration for the creation of the facility at Plum Island, maybe. But contrary to popular legend, Traub never actually worked on Plum Island. I think he was offered a job there one time, which he turned down.
And he was like, "No, I'm done."
The commute sucked.
I'm tired of working on islands, dude. Or maybe he had a better job offer. I don't know.
And we're working on this bomb thing over here. It sounds much more exciting.
It was a foot-and-mouth bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as I said, though, they did actually work for a little while on biological warfare, but it was kind of like what Eric Traub did on Reims Island. It was not human diseases, just ways to make your enemy's cows and pigs sick. And officially, at least, that mission was ended in 1969 by the Nixon administration.
Sure.
They were negotiating the Biological Weapons Convention at that time, and which became supposedly international law in 1972. The Biological Weapons Convention, which banned offensive research into weaponized stuff. It's kind of an elastic standard. I think you can still research diseases. You just can't, it's sort of, nobody knows when you're crossing the line and taking that research into that disease to actually unleashing it on your enemies, right?
Yeah.
But, obviously, if you got a little warhead that's designed to spread foot-and-mouth disease, well, you stepped over the line. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're manufacturing it in vast quantities, well, that's kind of stepping over the line too. You gotta, so that's the biological weapon.
Seems like a pretty obvious line then.
Yeah, it is. Well, no, it's fuzzy in a way. It's just a question of quantity. I mean, how much is too much in terms of quantity? When have you crossed that line? Well, that's where it gets a little bit fuzzy.
Hard to tell. Yeah.
But of course, since then, the research on Plum Island has strictly, officially at least, been into animal diseases. Again, foot and mouth, etc. They've built new buildings, and there are a lot of old derelict buildings also that go back to the original fort. I think there's something like 70 buildings on the island, many of which are kind of fallen down.
And they just left because it's cheaper to just let them rot away, probably, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, when you're on an island like that, bringing in demo crews and all that kind of stuff, maybe that does cost a little extra.
And you probably. I mean, it could potentially backfire if you have them hauling away debris in an area where you were doing testing.
True.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Or maybe you got some bodies buried out there. I don't know. But
that's where Hoffa's at.
Yeah, it could be. But that does help to further the kind of sinister image of the island, because old body buildings are kind of scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, all the scary, creepy stuff never happens in spiffy new concrete, industrial buildings or shiny skyscrapers. Have you noticed that?
I have.
Yeah. Never. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Satan likes old, crusty, ugly buildings.
Because Satan is old and crusty.
Is that what it is?
He is an old, crusty building, I'm pretty sure, actually.
Yeah. So if you're listening, Hollywood, throw everybody a curveball in your next horror film. Put it in a shiny office tower.
I'm so excited to get like a million emails from people that are like,
what about this movie?
Yeah.
What about that movie?
I can't think.
We'll learn about it.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that was at Die Hard. That wasn't a shiny office tower. Okay. But also, when you think about it, old buildings like that are derelict and everything are kind of a perfect cover for secret labs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because who would look under an old, rotting warehouse? I would never think to look there. Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
But if you're in the know, little wino passed out in the corner, and you sort of roll him over, and there's a shiny hatch set in the floor made of stainless steel, like
Yeah.
your secret lab. Yeah. So yeah, it's a perfect cover. And who knows? Maybe that's what's going on there.
Possible.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura too. You really think so? Yeah.
Yay.
Jesse